You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Drew Del Pree. What's up, Lou?
What's going on?
Boy, I went and did something.
What'd you do?
It's probably gonna get me in a lot of trouble.
What'd you do?
I bought a small RV.
Oh, how small?
It's 19 foot,
Well, it's not bad. That's good, man.
small enough that the Jeep can pull it.
I'll tell you what. It can't be any worse than the bad thing I did today.
Oh, geez, what you did today?
Told a bunch of people we were talking to Luis Fonseca. And that's next week. So yeah, sorry to all the people I said that to, but that'll be next week, not this week.
Oops. Yeah, it happens. You know, that's all right. I thought we had a guest tonight too. I didn't think it was Luis Fonseca, but I thought we had a different guest, and clearly we don't. So
Do not.
it's us. So we had a wicked storm come through yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Bad news for a lot of the people in dealerships around here. Good news for me because I got a couple grand knocked off of that trailer for some cosmetic hail damage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. I mean, you can't beat that with a stick.
I mean, if you look at me, I'm ugly as it is. I don't need a pretty trailer.
Nope.
Well, you didn't have to agree so fast, but you know, whatever. See how
It's but it's the like realistically, right? What do you go camping for? To walk around, to have the campfire, to be outside, So the trailer is the conveniences of after enjoying all the inconveniences of the outside.
Yeah, right. And
So-
it's the number one way to get my wife to actually go camping. With.
yeah, right. I'll never forget we had a conversation, you and I, back in Japan about trailers and camping, because I was I've been after this for years, and you're like, man, I used to own a fifth wheel. He said, I'll tell you what, man. I remember. Do you remember what you told me?
I don't remember what I had for
You-
breakfast.
You told me, man, if you give a woman a clean place to take a shit, that will change their camping outlook forever.
It sure does, man. A clean place to take a shit and some AC in the summer and some heat in the winter, and your life you'll thank me for it. Trust me.
Well, that's what you're saying. So that might change my wife's idea of outdoor camping.
Yeah.
Might enjoy it a little more.
I'm telling you, man, people will give you a bunch of crap for it. So what? It's the best of both worlds, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't care. What people would give me crap? I mean,
Nobody really give a shit about their opinion, but
yeah,
no, seriously, you have the convenience of home
sure.
in the outdoors.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to get out and see part of the country, or even if you don't want to go see part of the country, just go camping.
Well, and extended camping, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're sleeping in a tent on the ground. That takes its toll after a while. You kind of get tired of that,
Mhm.
But you have a place, like a bed with a mattress, comfortable. I mean, obviously it's not Tempur-Pedic, man. I mean,
Well,
do
depending
you?
on what you get.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can really go nuts,
The
but
size of the rig, I mean, a lot of, like, especially what you're looking at, at a minimum, queen size, if not king, and you can put a Tempur-Pedic
sure.
mattress in there.
No, I'm sure you can outfit all things, but my
Oh,
point
yeah.
being is, the 2 inches of foam is 1,000 times better than the root in your back.
Oh, yeah.
Those things make a difference, so even though, people might say, you're taking time off. I mean, I think it would extend the life of your camping trip. You could go further, stay out longer, have more
Yeah.
fun.
When I sleep I have a huge ass tent that I use, but it's neither here nor there. But I don't sleep on the ground. I have a cot and I have a pad that goes on the cot, and it's really comfortable to sleep on, and I can get a good night's sleep. But you know what? On the flip side, it's nice to go sleep on a queen size mattress and spread out a little bit.
I never you don't really appreciate your ISO mat until you're first, like,
Oh yeah, till you don't have it.
yeah, or yeah, exactly. Exactly.
People don't understand the difference. They have them for a reason, and you should be using them for a reason, because That ground gets cold.
I was just gonna say, if you're looking at that thing like, man, that padding's nothing. Like, yeah, maybe for your fat rump. However, the heat retention,
Yes.
the heat retention.
Yeah, that's what it's designed for. It's not designed to make you feel all comfy.
Oh, yeah. That's what people miss. And then of course we talked about this before, right? But the idiots who put their sleeping system together wrong.
Yes.
The
Yes.
black goes in the green.
Right.
The green goes in the bivy.
Or the idiots that put the bivvy in the sleeping bag.
Oh,
Th th
people
those
do
are
all kinds.
those are usually admin folks.
Yeah. I remember somebody was arguing with me about it, and I was like, stop. And all I did was pull the sleeping system out and show him the tag. And then I showed him the second layer that has the same tag. And then I showed him the bivy that doesn't have a tag because it was ripped off at some point when some other 50 people slept in it because that's
Right.
how gear was issued back then.
Yep. You know, those are remarkably warm.
It's a tent. It is when they say sleeping system, I will say that is probably the first accurately labeled combination of gear, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it is a system. The reason the green is, over the black is because the green is thinner, right? So if the rain penetrates the bivy sack, as the rain penetrates, it hits the green sack. The green sack filters it more, gives it more chance to evaporate. The black sack is thicker, so that by the time any moisture reaches your skin, it's mist. It's evaporated.
Right.
That's why it's layered that way. If you get your black sack soaked, that
You're
green little inch is done. You're not gonna
you'll
you're
only
not
do
gonna
that once.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But that shell as well, that shell, and I know we talked about this, might have been even as early as last week when I told
Mhm.
you the sergeant slept in it.
Right.
But you cover that shell, perfect protection, everything's cut. I mean, you're not going to get wet. You're not going to get. It's going to work.
I have slept in that in the elements
Mhm.
many, many, many times, and
Yeah.
it's miserable, but it works. You know,
Oh.
it's what?
You remember we were talking about Armor Reforger?
Yes.
Okay, that's the mill sim to refresh people's memories, right? A place where they're trying to create different servers do different things. The server that I'm a part of is trying to create a space for veterans to come in, just shoot the breeze, talk how you used to talk,
Right.
without any judgment, have fun. Um, but the game is based off an 80s model, right? So everything is 80s. And they were trying to put together a seer course, right? Like this is how this milsim is, right? This like seer course where for them, obviously you're not surviving and that that you're not doing a survival thing. So what they were trying to do was, can you uh make it to an objective, right? With all these bots trying to kill you, with minimal gear, get your thing and leave. And do you know how to find your direction in the game? The game is a 1-for-1. The sun rises in the east, shadows adjust. It's a 1-for-1, right?
Hmm.
Size, everything, it's all programmed in there. So the base of the game is an 80s model. So I suggested to them, why don't you go there? Right? Because if you jump on our server, you have an auto compass, you got all kinds of like
All the Gucci gear.
you do. They even have a dagger, which they were like, "Do you want the dagger?" And I was like, "No, because it sucks in real life too." I was like, "But if I'm calling for artillery, sure, I don't know." But yeah, we have watches and compasses and all these things. And I said, "Go to the 80s server. It has none of that. It's a clean server. It's base game only." And they did, and they had a lot of fun playing on it. But there's shelter halves, and the guy was like, "What the f is this?" And I said, "Oh man."
Oh my god.
I said, well, whoever's it is, I said, whoever's it is, they're screwed because you have to trench around it and mud the flats. And he's like, you know about that? I said, yes. He said, wow, was that the tent? And I had to describe it. Andy, for people listening, tell them about the shelter. Tell them about the shelter half.
Shelter half sucked. So it's just that. It's half of a shelter, and you and your buddy has the other half. And so it's just a two pieces of canvas that connect together and kind of sort of, but not really keep you out of the elements.
Right, but there was one or two more things. You had 3 poles.
Yes.
Remember the 3 poles
Mhm.
and the 1 wood stick, right? Was that it? 1 wood stick?
Yep.
Or yeah. Um, and so what would what would happen is, somebody would bring the
No, I
half,
think
but they'd forget the sticks.
right. You each had 3 sticks.
Right, right, right.
Right,
Because you had to put poles up for
right,
your half, and then you would tie it together. But you had to trench in the flaps. There was no bottom to this thing. You
right.
slept on whatever terrain was there. And that was the other thing that I had to explain to the guy. There's no bottom in there because you can't see it. It's closed. It's actually like put
Oh,
together and it's closed. I had to tell him, yeah, you can't see. There's no bottom in there, dude. I said, so you take mud, you dig around it because if it rains, there's no bottom. So you
right.
have to have a trench to catch the rain. And then you had to mud the sides,
Yep.
so that it wouldn't come in. So what I mean, did it go up quick? Kind of. But
It
you
went up
really
quick, but the entrenching part didn't.
that's what I'm saying, but you really if you wanted to have a spot you could sleep in for any period of time and not have to move it every night when you come back, yeah, that took prep, man. You had to really put that area together. But he was like, "Oh, that wait. You each only had half?"
The thing is, man, is it sucked because we never it was well, at least, in the units I was with, we never stayed in the same place the same night.
Yeah.
So one night you're there, you get up in the morning, and you're doing your tactical movement to wherever the fuck else you're going and setting that stupid shelter half up again. And yeah, they sucked, man. And they weren't light, it added a
No, it
bunch of
was
extra.
heavy camping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, I forgot.
You
And it
know,
was gear, so whatever, whatever you were bringing and that.
yes.
Like that had to, and it wasn't. It was thick. Like it default. Like it took up a lot of space
Yeah.
in your house. And like people be doing different things with the sticks, tying them here, tying them there. With whatever.
Some people
Um,
just put them up their rear end, carried them that
possibly,
way.
possibly many without a tip. One of the sticks had to have a tip.
just just the tip.
Yeah, it was such a mess, man. I remember being a mess. That's the other thing I remember. One of the sticks had to have a tip because that's how the grommet would go in, and it would hold it. And then you'd
Yep.
have like 3 sticks, no tip. You're like,
Then you're taking out your freaking K-bar and whittling a piece off, and then you're getting your ass chewed
yeah,
because you're destroying government property.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Some
right.
some cock and a walk company gunny's lost touch with reality,
Yeah.
getting into
Oh,
your shit.
but that shelter half was funny, man. And I'll tell you, it was funny to hear the kid like, "Yeah, are you? Is this serious? Are you serious? Like, are you for real right now? Like, yes, dude. There's no yes,
Now they
yes,
now they have these little two-man pop-up tents, man.
which are great. And
Yeah,
I'll have to find it someday. You'll have to remind me. I'll tell you my quick story about the Marine Corps 2-man tent. I took it out because the Marine Corps has a policy that if you volunteer with the Boy Scouts, and it sounds crazy, that if it's military gear and it's not being used, the Boy Scouts can use it. It actually says that.
nice.
That's how I was able to, just for anybody listening who might be involved with Scouts, I was able to get a full military truck show for the Boy Scouts in Iwakuni.
Hmm,
They pulled, I mean, when I say full, I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different truck variants, but they pulled them out for us and let the kids walk around and,
that's cool.
check it out. I checked out a tent, ECR'd, if you remember that, right? The
Oh
ECR
god,
card.
yeah.
I fill out the ECR card, equipment, something, something. Um,
Custody,
yeah, equipment
equipment
custody card. There you go.
custody record.
So I fill out the ECR and I take the tent. I use it for camping for about 4 years. Heavily involved in Boy Scouts since 2002 in the military. I'm at MARSOC at the time. I come back, about to leave. I'm turning in my gear. I bring the tent back. They're like, "Oh, dude, we forgot you had that." He's like, "We've had 2 full on inventories, right? Because it was a brand new command, so people were constantly always coming."
Mm,
He's like, "So our equipment is all accounted for. Like our balance sheets are good." They're like,
Roger.
So the lieutenant says to me, "We know you do good things with it. Why don't you just keep it and continue to do good things?" And I said, "Thank you. I will." I get to Boston. My first camp out is the Klondike Derby. That's a winter camp out with all kinds of winter events. Boston, Massachusetts, Klondike Derby, winter. So
Cold.
you can imagine how bad it is. I have a depressed sailor. I'm like, "Hey, why don't you get involved in Boy Scouts?" I am. I had just come here, right? And I just got into the command. So it took me a while to get involved. I got involved. I said, I just got involved. We're camping in a couple of weeks. Why don't you come? We'll camp. So his very first camp out, inner city kid, out there getting with the kids, he's teaching them cooking because he's the cook. I'm like, yeah, man, look up some outdoor recipes, whatever. I mean, having a great time. Then cracking starts to sound, right? Like a tree is breaking from
Oh,
the
shit.
ice, right? These trees
Oh,
are all
wow.
iced. Dude, a tree, everybody's looking, flashlights, right? Flashlights everywhere. Where the hell is this? It's night, it's campfire. This thing comes down dead through the center of my tent,
Oh, no.
destroyed. If I had been in there, and I know this sounds crazy, I would have been killed. It took 15 of us to get that tree off of the tent.
Jesus.
It destroyed the tent, ripped the fabric, I mean, bent the poles, everything. I go to leave, and at my going away party at the troop, there's a cake. I have a picture of it with a tree through a tent. Glad you didn't die, Mr. Delpreet. Let me backpedal. The kid's first camp out. Eyes are up. He's in front of he's like, we said, do you want to sleep in someone else's tent? Because he was going to share my tent. And I was going over. He's like, no, I'm good. Man, he slept in front of the fire with one
Damn.
eye open the whole night, man.
That poor kid.
It was his first camp out. It was his first camp out. I was like, they're not all like this. I swear.
I'm sure it was his last.
No, he went to continue on, man. He did really well. I hope he's still involved. We're LinkedIn. You know what? I'll hit him up.
Yeah, you should. That's crazy, man. So you were going to tell me about something.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I came across to anyone who may not be familiar, there's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it comes up a lot. I I used to use it a lot. Making fun of people, right? Or teasing people. And basically what it is, let me get I'll get the definition for you here so you can have the exact definition of what the Dunning-Kruger effect is. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. So the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Wikipedia, which is pretty accurate because I've read studies on it, right? But I know Wikipedia is not accurate, but it's accurate on this definition. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with limited competence in a particular domain overestimate their abilities. So basically, people think they're smarter about topics than they actually are. They did a study, these guys, and what I came across was a 10 years after. This was done in 1999 when by Dunning and Kruger. All kinds of respondents, all kinds of topics, all kinds of methodology. You have to go read it yourself. And what they found is it's 100% across the board. There's everybody thinks they're smarter than they are. They're like it's just how it is. And what they're finding is and what I read in a 10 years after is what I'm reading now. It's pretty lengthy, so I haven't gotten through all of it. And what I was talking to you Annie, about when we decided to save it for the show was how fascinating it is. What the guy's saying is the reason everyone is susceptible to this is unknown unknowns. He said most people that you talk to will tell you, yeah, they've heard unknown unknowns, right? The things we don't know, we don't know. He said, but what people don't understand is how vast that is. He said, what people do instead is they tend to use wraparound logic to get into conversations to feel like they understand the topic. Sorry, I lost my earpiece there. But a point example he was talking about, he said, you know, knowing the fact that an electron is smaller than a neutron, right, doesn't invite you into a particle conversation, right? Even if the conversation is about electrons being smaller than neutrons, just you knowing that they are is not enough for you to participate. He's like, but people will feel, oh, I know that. This is something. No, you do not know particle physics. You do not. And you don't understand how, things meld and how, and you shouldn't be in the conversation. But that was his point, was people do not understand. He said, and so it will never go away. The Dunning-Kruger effect.
Interesting. You could fill libraries with the amount of shit that I don't know. I am actually cognizant of it. I've been I've been around, my whole career I've been around a lot of really smart people,
Mhm.
and it's always made me feel really dumb. So I
Yeah.
don't I don't really think I suffer from that too much.
It's just like I said, it's just very, very interesting. Let me take, I should have pulled up a study with more, examples, but, I thought I was talking to Luis Fonseca. So
It's okay,
so
it happens.
so instead, Andy, do you wanna tell me what you think before you run into but anyway, but back to Zen Kruger, I think the big thing, maybe another example I could think of is, um medications passing the blood brain barrier, right?
Mm,
Certain medications enteric coated, right, with the milk coat, right? So I'm using the word enteric coating, right? And what they're talking about with the Dunning Kruger effect is I shouldn't even be talking about this. I couldn't tell you where the word enteric came from, why it's called enteric. I couldn't say any of that. All I know is enteric coated pills tend to make it through the blood brain barrier. But that's not enough to be talking about it. That's what Dunning and Kruger are saying. You
mhm.
don't know enough to be talking about this. And does that broaden it a little more?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You
How many
know,
people have you known suffered from that?
a lot. I used to be able to tell you the meaning of enteric, why it was called such, and where it came from, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of that crap.
Exactly, exactly. And I was thinking in my head, like when they were talking about, you have medical experts, right? And if you look up the definition of expert, and I think legally, what implications would this have, right? But I think we all know legally, if they want you, they're going to screw you. If they don't, they'll let you go. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to assign a color or a race or a category to that. I think
Or
bottom
a
line is it doesn't
political
matter. If they
party.
want you, they will grab you. If they don't, they won't.
Right.
you know.
You could even
Um,
not mention a political party in there.
Right. Well, I mean, we don't have to, 'cause I mean, that's the system, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, if they want you, they'll grab you. If they don't, they won't.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, but I think when we go back to like looking at now, see, now I lost my train of thought thinking about the courts and everything. Because I was thinking about that Fannie Willis decision.
Oh god.
Both guilty, one in trouble.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, well, it's election time for that judge.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It is.
Hmm?
And
Yeah.
it's clear why the decision was made the way it was made.
Of course. So I did remember back to Dan Cruz. We talk about medical experts and legal opinions. Oftentimes they'll rely on expert testimony, right?
Mm,
Here's the doctor, he's the expert, right? I'm just a dude, right? I'm not a doctor, so I'm not an expert in medical, right? So his word is better than mine, right? Because he's the expert, he's credentialed, okay? But if you look at the word expert, it says mastery of all things dealing with the topic. All things dealing with the topic.
right.
Okay. Last year, out of sheer boredom, I was looking up alcohol swabs, of before shots, right? Because I ran out of alcohol years ago and I'm a diabetic injecting myself and I never got an infection.
Mhm.
Ever. Still do. Don't use alcohol at all, ever. So I decide, well, why did I use alcohol? And why do they want me to buy my own? And why did I do this? So I Google and I start looking for research. There was zero research on whether alcohol reduces infections and clean skin prior to an injection. There's no data.
Hmm.
People are just doing it. Now, if he's the expert and I ask him, do alcohol pads swabbing before an injection help or harm the patient? What do you think his answer would be?
He's gonna say they help.
He's going to say they help. Okay, the limited study they were able to do showed it actually harmed people with clean skin, causing more pain at the injection site. So now is he an expert? But I know
Mm,
that. But yet they wouldn't believe me, because
right.
he's the expert, right? And that's why I say, like you run into these Dunning Krugers, um, where you have these people who will come off as experts. They'll talk like they're experts, but the truth is, probably 9 out of 10 times they're not as smart as they think they are, and they're not as good as they think they are. But yet we are getting rulings and things based off of their testimonies time and time again.
It's a true story. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that going on in the military for sure.
Oh,
For sure.
all the time. I'll tell you an example. I think it's a funny example, maybe of the Dunning Kruger. But I had a friend of mine. His name was spelled with a silent letter, and he was telling me one time he was at the DMV, and he's Southern, right, from Louisiana. Great guy, man, salt of the earth dude, hilarious, right? Because the accent makes it even funnier. Um, and he's like, he's saying his name. I don't want to. How could I say it? Yeah, well, like Stephen Colbert, right? Almost like Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
And she's like, Colbert, and he's like, Colbert. And she's like, Colbert, and he's like, Colbert. And she's like, it says Colbert. He's like, I've had this name for 30 years. I know how it's pronounced. He's like, he's
That's hilarious.
like Dunning Kruger, man. He's like, I'm reading it. No, lady. He's the expert. His name.
Wow.
Oh man, you could find Dunning Kruger all over the place. So let me fast forward to what am I trying to get out of this reading it? Right? Am I trying to be a
Yeah.
bigger jerk? No, I'm actually reading it and curious about it because I'm trying to uh change how I interact. Right? I want to have more impactful, less time interaction with people. I find I beat around the bush a lot. And what they were saying was, you know, you're out of your league when you're looking for other example, like when you're outside the top, sort of the mainstream of the topic to get yourself back into it, right? Or if your contribution is trying to push it to another track, right? So if we're talking about electric guitars, and I'm like, on an acoustic guitar, okay, I don't, and I'm trying to figure out how to tell when I'm having sort of a fruitless conversation. Like, okay, for lack of a better word, I'm arguing. Okay, I'm arguing with an idiot. Okay, not. So anyway, that's why I'm looking at it and trying to identify behaviors in myself because I'll tell you what, Nandy. Look, if we're gonna be honest, yeah, I inject myself all over the place, man, and a lot of times it's with wraparound logic. So, once you can name something, once you can identify it, you can start to work on it. So, that's why I've been reading this and just been fascinated by it.
I see I kinda I'm just trying to figure out I think I understand why they did the study, but I mean, not everyone can be experts, and not everyone can have all that knowledge. So what was the whole premise? Why even start the study?
That's a good question. That's a good question. They may. I want to say I've read them talk about it, but I don't want to misquote it. Uh,
Hmm.
be wraparound logic. I know why I would be interested. Like having not known this, if I was feeling like there was something like this and wanted to explore it, why I would want to study something like that would be like, where how do these people get this way? Like,
Right.
how could you possibly think you understand that? Or how, where did we go wrong? Because a lot of their analysis, oh my God, 50, you want to talk about Dunning Kruger, like how dumb some people, 56% of adult respondents out of 1,500 polled thought the sun revolved around the earth and it took a year. 56% of adult respondents of 1,500 polled thought the sun revolved around the earth.
Wait, it doesn't?
Right? I
That's,
sent that to a doctor friend of mine. He's like, "Duh, it rolls around me." I was like, "Nice, good. Damn, I didn't think of that."
That's good. I
Ah, it
like
was
that.
perfect. I was like, you son of a gun.
I mean, there's no doubt. There's stupid people out there. There's just dumb people, and you can't even. There's a difference between being uneducated and being dumb, and there's a lot of dumb people out there
Yeah. Oh, I would agree. And
that
unfortunately, they end up in these halls of power, and you're like, how'd they get there?
because we can't tell them they're dumb because that'll hurt their feelings, and everybody gets a trophy, man. Don't you know that?
That's right. Does anybody remember the nuclear secretary? The one that was like wearing dresses, stealing suitcases?
God, man.
You're like, how do these people get there? Who thought this dude was an expert?
The Surgeon General.
Oh, good old Dick Levine. Oh, good old Rich.
Still has his.
He's from Pennsylvania.
Go figure.
Yeah, good for him. Living his life, doing his thing. Good for him. You know what? And you be you, Dick. Have
Yeah,
fun.
you go, boy.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, you know what? In all honesty, adults, do your thing.
Right.
Go nuts.
But that's a whole different conversation. He's not just doing his thing.
I
That's
know.
the problem.
I know. But that I agree. It was funny. There's a debate on Star Trek that comes up all the time. On Twitter on some of the Star Trek Twitter, whatever you call them, accounts. I don't know why conservatives like this show. Y'all ought to F off. It's not even for you, they talk about all the press stuff. And I just always chime in with, I'll leave when they start beaming kids off planets to trans them. I said, but all these storylines are adult based. Adults can F themselves up all day long. Lord knows I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when I'll leave, when they start, when they're like, energized, that child needs a penis. You know what I mean? And then I'll be like, okay, we're kind of a little, all right.
Yeah.
But for adults, I could care less. Do your thing.
Yeah. I agree. Leave the kids out of it. Um, you're a grown ass man or woman. You're free to make the mistakes that you're making.
Exactly.
Right.
There's no law against being dumb.
Right.
You know,
There's actually no law against getting your feelings hurt either. However, it's coming close.
it is Canada. You can get a life sentence.
Yeah.
Did you
Isn't
see
that
that?
crazy? A
Yeah,
life
yeah, you can get a life
sentence.
sentence for hate speech, but not for murder.
Right.
But for hate speech, you absolutely can.
Sticks and stones.
Yeah, that country, boy, there is just no freedom up there. You got to be careful.
It's they're I thought we were upside down. They're completely upside down.
America's hat. Oh, Canada.
Oh Jesus. They're getting we're getting closer though.
Well,
So,
yeah.
speak of this, talk to me about this whole Fanny Willis thing.
I guess the judge. I mean, I don't know much about it other than the judge. The judge ruled that there was inappropriate relationships. But I'll tell you here's one take. I'll tell you this right now. If you want a hot take from there, and I stole this, but I don't remember who I stole it from. But whoever you were, but they had a great point. They were like, if that judge is going to sit there and say cell phone tracking data is not good enough to prove, then everyone in Georgia who's been convicted with cell phone tracking data should be filing right effing now.
Absolutely.
If it is unreliable, everyone should be, he said, especially if you're convicted in Georgia, but around the globe, you should be
Right.
filing for a retrial. Hey, this judge said it's no good.
If that isn't a Pandora's box.
That's what they were saying on Twitter. You start filing right now. If you've been convicted off cell phone data, especially in Georgia, judge said it's not reliable. Can't prove.
Dude, I've lost all faith in the system.
That's why I said, man, if they want you, they'll get you. If they don't, they won't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who's in power. Let me tell you, you all can think, oh, Trump's going to get in and everything's going to get fixed. Okay, it's called a deep state for a reason. Okay, it's called a deep state for a reason. Oh no, he'll flush it out. Oh, I'm sure he will. Yeah. In 4 years. Remember the lesson of one of the power players, I forget, in the Navy, was he was only going to do one term on a 2-term type of deal, and everyone around him said, do not tell anyone that. If you say that, they will water you, they will bog you down in BS because they know you're gone. They're just going to wait you out.
Right.
He's like, do not tell anyone. And I just think, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, and to quote Ben Shapiro, I'm going to walk over glass to vote for Donald Trump because he's far superior to Biden.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying the deep state, he's not going to be able to clean it out. Now, he'll do a lot, I think. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to do a lot, but it's too deep, man. And there's people in the deep state that don't even know they're in the deep state.
I'm still sticking with the fact that there's no way he's getting back into office. It doesn't matter by hook or by crook.
Macron said he heard Trump isn't getting it, won't be president. And everybody's like, well, what is the World Economic Forum buddies tell him?
I'm telling you, by hook or by crook, he may win the election. Something will happen.
It's possible. I mean, it's entirely possible. Or now imagine this: if you have a deep thinker, let him get in, let him get a couple of things, even some things we don't like, but the really big stuff will we'll bog that down. Don't do anything. Then run the next campaign going, what the hell were these people talking about?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what were they talking about? Look at all his bad policies. Like, don't do anything bad. Let him have his 4. And then talk about all the crap he did, because the difference between, I think, and you can correct me if or add whatever opinion. I think the difference between the Republican and Democrat Party campaigning is I'm going to give you all this stuff and he's going to take it away, right? Yeah, I'm going to take it away because it's all going to go away if I don't take some, and nobody wants to hear you're going to take it away. Right. So if you got a guy saying, I'm going to give you all this stuff, and another guy saying, well, I'm going to take it away. Well, 80% of, shiftless people are going to say, yeah, I'm going to go with I want free stuff.
Of course.
I mean,
that was, look at the Obama phone. Just saying. I didn't get a free phone, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't think he'll make it in. He'll either be they'll either convict him regardless of evidence.
Yeah.
They'll throw him in jail, or he will something will happen to him. I'm not saying assassination, but I'm not saying it either. I just feel that the Democratic Party is so crooked, and they want nothing to do with Trump so badly that they will take whatever means necessary to keep him from getting into the Oval Office.
Did you see? I can't remember the guy's name, right? Damn, I hope I might have bookmarked it. I'll have to check. Anyway, there's an interview by one of Trump's friends, and you remember Trump swore he was going to declassify the Kennedy documents.
Mm-hmm.
Then he saw them and he didn't. And this guy says he talked to Trump, and Trump said, he said, when I tell you what I saw, he goes, you wouldn't do it either. And he said, but we'll talk when we're not on the phone and there isn't 15 people listening. So to say that, I am starting to think, and bear with me here for a second. There's no Democrat and Republican Party in charge. There's a Democrat and Republican Party, right? But I really think since Kennedy was shot, that it's a possible theory of why the government is why it is because the president isn't really in charge, and some of these intelligence agencies are really running things. That instead of it being one person, they've realized we really kind of need a council. These are the people who do it. This is the person they vote for. Because the government has gotten extremely huge. How do you the executive branch, Biden running it? I know you have cabinet heads and stuff, and maybe the cabinet's the council. But my point being is, I don't think Joe Biden's running it, and I think that's why they hate Trump, right? Because Trump is going to come in thinking he's running it. He's not read in. You know, I don't think Trump's read in, and I think that's why they hate him and don't want him. And you know, they gave him 4 years because they didn't think it was going to happen and got caught off the guard. Is what Alex. And now him, I did bookmark.
Who?
Blaze, I think his name is.
Huh.
Um, he used to work for the State Department in electronic counterintelligence and stuff. And he basically said in 2014 there was a Turkish election and it got lost. You know, well, the internet. He basically said the internet came out. Countries froze the internet, right? Like China. You know, we're restricting the internet. We're doing all these things to restrict. So the military and the State Department thought it'd be a great idea to help dissidents in these countries to, you know, reshape opinion, right, through information campaigns, um, so that we never have to fire a shot, but we could get rid of the president, right? So what we're basically accusing China of is a plan we came up with, and that's why the military developed the Tor browser and these other like the dark web, and you know Tor browsers, all these things, um, so that they could communicate below the Chinese censor radar, right? Or these other countries that have censored the internet, you know, these dark webs can still communicate. And then they could share information and spread whatever propaganda. And so that was fine. And everything was fine. And it was all outward facing and everything was good. And then they lost an election in 2014 in Turkey when social media came out, right? Social media information was spreading, right? So when social media came out, they lost an election in Turkey. Then they lost something in 2015. I can't remember. I said, but they put a ton of effort, a ton of money, and lost because of, again, of social media, right?
Hmm.
In 2016, he said all of us, not us, he was gone by then, but he said you had many, many, many people in these departments, right? High level senior managers who were poised for promotion and pay raise when Hillary Clinton wins, right? She's going to take her people with, you know, State Department, right? The people that do these things, you know, promotions.
Right.
Trump wins. They're all gone. No promotion, no nothing. It comes out of nowhere. Now these people are like, how did this all happen? We don't have control of social media. So they start turning it inward and start feeding the propaganda, threatening the companies. All the algorithms, all the stuff that we were pushing outward turned inward in 2016 is what he says. And it is getting worse.
It's obvious.
Yeah, it is getting worse. But he said that's what happened. He said as soon as they lost control of the narrative in the US in that 2016 election, they panicked and turned everything inward because they had to control the narrative. They have to control the conversation. And what he says is you have to look at CISA. CISA is the one doing this, and they're hiding CISA. You have like it was part of DHS, then they moved it over here. He said it's the Commission on Internet Infrastructure and Security, right? They are trying to take everything. He said, and CISA is the one that's coming up with these rules, you know, and all this stuff. Their new mission statement includes a new protection, and that is cognitive infrastructure. CISA is saying, a government organization is saying they are charged with cognitive infrastructure, which is making sure people are thinking what they're supposed to be thinking in America.
It's fucking 1984, man. It really is. It's so scary. It's ridiculous. But you know, people have often thought that for a long time that the president is just a figurehead. And if there was ever any administration in the history of the United States, the current one is living proof of that.
Everybody knows Obama's the only president who set up an office in DC. His people are seen going in and out all the time. In and
Yep.
out all the time. Condoleezza Rice was a holdover. All those other people, I mean, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the back telling them. How about the transcript? Robert Hur's transcript. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Why did and the one part, and I'm sure I'm going to paraphrase, right? But the one part where they're like, you know, did they want you to run for president? Oh, Obama didn't. He thought she'd have a better chance. Everyone, or he said people were asking, but Obama didn't. And then how about, was I president back then? Was I vice president? Let me
Right.
see. What year was that? 2013. I was in high school. This guy-
I was in a high school.
and how about how everybody's talking about the State of the Union?
Oh my God. He's
Everybody's like, "Oh, he had so much energy. That's the president. He socked it to the Republicans." What day was it on?
yeah, I don't even know. They clearly were watching something different than I was.
You know how many kids didn't have ADHD refills ready the next day?
You
You gonna tell
stumbling,
me that
mumbling prick, yeah.
he blinked like 5 times? The guy was so drugged up. He was banana bagged to death. I would have loved to see his arms. I would have
Right?
loved to see his arms.
Oh
I
yeah.
would have loved to see his arms. You know what? Hey, if you're a Republican congressman out there, next State of the Union he gives, give him a little squeeze on the arm, right in the AC. Just be like, "Hey, Mr. President,"
How are you? Good
like you're going to
speech.
shake his hand. You know, that's a very common man grip coming from behind. "Hey, excuse me. Hey," just give him right in the antecubital.
See him flinch like a bitch.
Give him right in the antecubital, man.
Or he's so out of it he won't even feel it. But hey, let me sniff your hair.
But no, yeah, I'll tell you that. Here's what I noticed in the State of the Union. He flubbed a lot,
Oh yeah.
and between you and me, it was very obvious stimulants brought him through because when he would start to misspeak, he would speed through it.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how could you make that with stimulants and stuff and make those types of assessments? Talk to people who take them in the ER.
Yeah.
They start to cruise their words, they cruise right through, and then they get right back on topic.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. You know what? I just don't get. Again, I've lost faith. I've lost faith in the whole entire system. I'm going to vote for Trump, but I know it's not going to matter. It's really not. Our votes don't count anyway.
I'll tell you right now, I don't believe that.
We don't elect the president.
We don't. The Electoral College does.
Exactly.
Yes. In some states, their names are required to be on the ballot. Like, so you vote. So it was very funny. Pennsylvania might be one. But with computer voting, the polls don't look the same. Like when my dad was in there, man, and like I was like, "How do you vote?" There's like 5,000 switches. I was very intimidated by that machine, man. As a kid, I was like, "This is some complex stuff, man."
Right.
Right, because it was like levers.
Yes.
Like, and he'd be looking, and
Yeah.
but he would never let me look. Like he would never let me see who he was voting for. He always told me that was private. And I think I've said before on the show many times, I never knew my parents never talked politics around us. So I didn't know what they were until they died. And my sister told me. And she said the only reason she knew is because, towards the end of their life, she would help them register. And, she said, she was like, "I should have changed my," she goes, I guess my dad was a Democrat. My mom was a Republican. He's like, "I should have changed Dad's ballot, but she's like, "But no," she's like, "I love him."
Just wait till he dies. He'll vote Democrat anyway.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, he probably is. Probably voted. Well, he would vote him anyway. Yeah. But he was always involved. I don't know. He's very. We could say yesterday's Democrats are different.
For sure.
Than today's, right? So yesterday's Democrats were more community, whatever. And your Republicans were more corporate focused. He was always community focused. He ran the Boys and Girls Club for like 40 years. So I mean, when she told me that, I wasn't surprised.
Right.
He would have been appalled. He'd be probably spinning in his grave right now because he loved children, and you know what? In his retirement speech, the one thing he said was, "Careful, children are getting overstimulated today. There's too much for them going on." You know what I mean? Like parents are taking them here, there, everywhere. They're not getting a chance to sit, focus, and figure out who they are and problem solve.
Yeah.
They're not having opportunities to have arguments and figure out,
there's a lot
what's
to
acceptable.
that. Yeah, for sure. There's a whole heck of a lot to that.
Yeah, he thought there's way too much going on in kids' lives today. Like we need to slow it down a little bit. They don't have to do everything. They need to They need to start skinning some knees again.
Parents need to stop living vicariously through their children.
I think on the trans issue, I think on the trans kids issue, I think my father would feel horrible for them, but would also say, "Don't do it. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Wait until you are older. Wait until he would feel. I'm sure he would heartbroken that any child didn't feel comfortable in their own skin. I'm sure he would, but
Mhm.
I know he would not approve of these pushes. And did you see? I was saying this because I've been on top of this for years, but people don't believe me. And if I was still working, there's 3 women I'd go up to and be like, here you go, dumbass. But Britain stopped puberty blockers for children.
Good. Good for them.
3 years ago, they put a letter out by the Ministry of Health saying, we're going to take a look at this because their largest sex change clinic went from about 200 referrals to a year to 4,000.
Jeez.
And they were like, no. So they shut down immediately. And the Ministry of Health took a look at it. And just last week, they stopped puberty blockers for all children.
Good for them.
Yes. And years ago, they said, and they took it down at our request, of course. They
Of
said,
course.
this is all coming from the West and it needs further review. We're not just going to do what the United States does.
100%, man.
And so, which it's not true that it's all coming. Well, it may all be now, but this did originally start in Denmark, which is why people go, we use the Denmark model. But Sweden just stopped using the Denmark model because they found there's a fault in the Denmark model. It's a
Shocking.
horrible model.
Shocking.
Yes, that treatment model. So the shroud is collapsing, collapsing all over. They talked to oh god, I can't remember his name, but he's Ron DeSantis's guy down in Florida, looking at the public universities where they stripped all the DEI.
Hmm.
He said when he got in there, 40% of student enrollment was identified as LGBTQ plus or trans, right? Whatever. And he said since they dismantled the DEI programs, right? They're back down to their normal 5%. Their regular, usual
man.
5 to 7. He said most of these people didn't even know the designation was there.
I'm going to tell you, and this is not a popular opinion, I'm sure. And I'm pretty sure I really don't give a shit either. However, most that 40%, most of those are losers looking to find somewhere to fit in.
Yeah.
I said it. There it is.
Yeah.
If that hurt your feelings, oh
It's
well.
true. And I'll tell you why it's true, Andy. In my opinion, well, I think exactly what you said is true based off my experience. I worked for the when I was in the Navy, I was stationed at the Drug and Alcohol Center. And I did it for about 4 years. And part of our duty was to go around to the AA meetings. I get to meet people, talk, be with the patients. You got to be with them while they're there and all that stuff. Got to keep an eye on them and everything. So I met these people for years. Talk to these people for years. And if you look at Alcoholics Anonymous, what happens when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Because here, I'll tell you another thing. Not only these people losers, but they're godless. They're godless. And you'll see why I say this, in my reasoning. Alcoholics are losers. Okay, they are. All right. When I was in heavy active alcoholism, I was a loser. Right? They are. When you go to AA, you're immediately given a purpose. You have to greet. You have to say hi. People recognize you. You get a sense of belonging. Day one.
Yep.
As soon as we would bring a new patient through the door, the regulars right on them. Welcome. Come on. Hey, hang out. If you don't feel, you can hang over here, but you're immediately welcome. And in AA, the interesting thing too is it transcends class because you see people well dressed and horribly dressed.
Yep.
People who smell nice and smell horrible.
Educated or
church,
not.
right? You walk into church, you immediately have a purpose. You immediately have friends. There's a greeter at church. They'll help you to your seat, right? People that belong to churches, active communal churches, right, tend to have fuller lives. It's just it is just something that happens. I'm I won't say it's 100% because of God. I'm not there yet. But what I will say is a strong sense of community brings people together and
For
does
sure.
help promote mental health, right?
Yep.
But if you're going to sit in your home, in your basement, and complain about the world while you're online, and then suddenly realize you're in the wrong body, you know, I don't, I don't have anything for you, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Every here's what I think is crazy. In America, we've said that is the only solution. There is no other solution to gender dysphoria anymore.
Which we know is not correct. It's false.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they gravitate towards the LGBTQ because exactly like you said, everyone welcomes them, and it's all over the TV.
And
You
yeah.
you can't be truthful with them. I think honestly, all these people that are supporting the transgender community uh, are doing them more harm than they are good.
Yeah.
They're lying to them to
Yes.
appease their feelings.
100%.
You're
100%.
not helping, you're hurting them.
And I just had
So,
a similar conversation with somebody about something else. You want to be, you had your controversial opinion. I'll give you a controversial opinion, and I'll switch tracks real quick, but similar concept. I just had a similar conversation with the young black man online about the N word, right? In the server. And I told him, we were just talking, and he said he never hears me use it. And I said, no, I don't. I'm older, man. That's not, I didn't grow up like that. We didn't say that. It wasn't something that you just, it wasn't, oh, the soft A hard, that didn't exist. There's one word, and you're going to be fighting if you use it. So
right.
use it carefully or don't never use it at all. So I tried never to use it at all. I said, I'm going to tell you this. I said, when I was a manager, if I heard you use that language, I'm not hiring you. I don't want you here with that. I have an image to obtain. I don't think it's a nice word. I don't think it's a good word. And I said, and I don't get mad at the kids. I don't get mad at the kids. The people I get mad at are the people who are telling you it's okay because they know. I said, and what I told him is you have to watch the values pimps. you know, the ones who tell you, yeah, abortion should be legal and all the way up to, but they have 7 kids. They have kids. They're not doing it.
Right.
Their kids aren't. Pelosi's got grandkids. Her kids aren't doing it. You know, you have to watch the values pimps. I
Yep.
said, I said, the successful black men that you see, I said, are they using that word in public? Are they? Maybe in their house. I don't know. I'm not in anybody's house. I said, but they're not publicly running around using that word. You don't see Denzel
Right.
Washington in an interview saying that.
Right.
I said, but again, the problem is you have people who know that and they're not saying it to you. They're telling you the exact opposite.
That's
No,
true.
be you. Do you. We're reclaiming that word. You're not reclaiming anything. No, I'm telling you, 99.9% of white people that hear it are like just cringe. They cringe.
Mhm.
It's not reclaimed. They're like, you know what? I'm not. I don't know, man. I think it's a bad word. It's a horrible word. I don't think any of us use it
I
under
agree.
any circumstance.
I agree. I feel like okay, this is going to be controversial as well. It's a word. The black community has given all the power to a word. And I know many will disagree with me, but take the power back from that word. Stop using it. If you ignore the word, it has no power.
I, I
But
just, yeah, yeah, you're right. You're
that's
100% right, man.
just me, man. And it's not a popular opinion, I'm sure. But hey, I just realized I don't have a vet organization this
I'll
week.
do pinups for vets all the time.
Didn't you do that last week?
Did I? I did.
No,
Maybe.
no, no. You talked about it, but
I might have, man. Oh, hey. Um,
hey, we we could no, because last week we talked about the podcast network, the Veterans Podcast Network. But
Yeah.
what we could talk about, since registration is still open, we could talk about the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy.
Yeah. I got a
So
letter. I'm gonna
you did.
go.
Yeah, so Lou's gonna find out firsthand what an outstanding organization this is.
Yeah.
Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy. What we do is we take veterans, wounded, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, and we bring them in and we teach them how to be umpires. But we use umpiring and we use baseball as a conduit to get these veterans back, to give them a renewed sense of purpose, to give them some value, to bring them back to that camaraderie that they haven't had since they left the military. And it's, as Lou will tell you, it's a super important part. It's the
Oh,
fabric of our being, man. So what's cool about this organization is it's nonprofit, and wow, my phone was going crazy there for a second. It's a nonprofit organization that we pay for your flight, we pay for the meals, we pay for the training, and in addition to that, you get around $1,500 of brand spanking new umpire gear donated by umpatire.com. So check out a couple organizations. Umpatire.com. President of that organization, good friend of mine, Jim Kirk, and of course, Wounded Warrior Umpire, woundedwarriorua.org. Very, very little money goes to the organization. 98% goes right to the veterans. So check them out. It's a fantastic place to be. And hey, look, we got a chat bot. Look at
do
that.
we?
Yeah,
Hey,
whatever.
buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Abby Lena 7. Call me.
Well, that's our veterans helping veterans segment. It's about that time, man.
It
We should
is.
we should probably punch out of here. But Lou, thanks again as always for
Thank you, Andy.
joining me. And we'll see y'all next week. Luis
Next week.
Fonseca.
Next week's Louis Fonseca.
Not this week. Next
Not
week.
this week.
That's
Not
right.
this week.
All right, everybody. We will catch y'all next week. Peace.